The CTA is currently extending the Red Line, or the Dan Ryan branch, 5.6 miles to 130th Street in the far south side. As of 2024, the CTA is currently receiving contract bids for the project. If everything goes according to plan, construction is going to start in 2025 and the project will be complete in 2029. However, the history of that extension goes way back than the recent past. In this video, we will talk about the Dan Ryan extension, including its history, remnants, and whether the Dan Ryan branch extension is needed today. The first instance of the Dan Ryan branch extension being floated was literally when the Dan Ryan Expressway was being planned. In 1958, through the New Horizons for Chicago's metropolitan area, planners conceived a plan to build a rapid transit line in the median of the Dan Ryan Expressway to 95th Street. After 95th Street, the line would have two branches, one via the median of I-57 to 119th Street, and the other via the median of I-94 to 107th Street. However, the plan for the Dan Ryan branch was cut back to 95th Street, with the far south side branches being completed at a later date. President LBJ signed the Mass Transit Act of 1964, giving billions of dollars to new transit projects. One such project was the Dan Ryan branch, which then Mayor Richard Daley secured by diverting funds away from the planned train to O'Hare. Construction started in 1967, and in 1969, the Dan Ryan branch opened. This new branch was extremely successful in generating ridership. Despite being located in the median of an expressway, it exceeded that of the nearby Southside L almost immediately. This was because of the new neighborhoods that the Dan Ryan branch serves, like Ashburn and Chatham. Combined with bus lines being rerouted to serve the new line, the Dan Ryan was booming, which in itself became a problem. Basically, the Dan Ryan was paired with the Lake Street L, but the Lake Street L did not see high ridership. This meant that the extra trains that the CTA ran on the Dan Ryan were, quote-unquote, wasted potential on the Lake Street L. Meanwhile, the North Side Main Line sees high ridership, but was paired with the South Side L, which sees lower ridership. This meant that the extra trains that the CTA ran on the North Side Main Line were also wasted potential on the South Side L. The solution was to pair the Dan Ryan with the North Side Main Line, and the Lake Street L with the South Side L, but that won't happen until 1993. Anyways, back to the CTA Dan Ryan branch extension. When the Dan Ryan branch opened in 1969, Mayor Daley vowed to bring the line to the far south side. In 1973, the aforementioned branches on the I-57 and I-94 were included in future expansion plans. But focus was shifted to building the train to O'Hare and the Midway branch, so that plan went nowhere. By 1990, the branch on I-57 was dropped, and a branch on I-94 was put on a lower priority project. After all, the CTA had other objectives, and that took up the focus of the CTA. For example, the CTA was busy rehabilitating the Green Line, fixing the loop, building the Midway branch, and looking into re-extending service back to Jackson Park. So, this was it, right? There will be no train line to the far south side, and the far south side will remain a transit desert for many years to come, right? Fortunately, that was a no. In 1998, the CTA Dan Ryan extension was back as a top priority project. The I-94 extension to 107th Street is now at 108th Street and Stony Island. In 2003, it was proposed that the I-94 extension would have gone even further to 130th Street. After the CTA finished rehabilitating the Green Line, finishing the Midway branch, they turned their attention to this project. In 2005, the CTA started studying a possible extension from 95th Street. They looked at many alignments, such as the medians of I-94 and I-57, but also Halsted Street, South Michigan Avenue, and a Union Pacific right-of-way. In 2009, the Union Pacific right-of-way alignment was recommended for the Red Line extension, ditching the previous I-94 and I-57 alignments proposed for many years. With this recommendation, the CTA began an EIS, and by 2018, the CTA finalized the Union Pacific alignment. Basically, it would have continued on the median of I-57, turned south at the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way, and continued with it until 119th Street. Then the extension would continue on Metra's South Shore Line until 130th Street. And with that, the design and engineering phase began. In 2022, the CTA finally released their final EIS, and is now looking for contractors to build the extension. If everything goes according to plan, construction will begin in 2025, and the extension will open in 2029, finishing out the dream of direct L service to the far south side. The CTA Dan Ryan branch extension does have a few remnants, but unlike most New York City subway projects, this one is in plain view for the entire world to see. Starting at I-94, when you walk past 95th Street, you see the 98th Street yard. But afterwards, the yard ends and there is a strip of land. That is where the Dan Ryan branch extension would have gone, if planners from the 1960s got their way. On the western end, at I-57, you again see a wide strip of land in the center of the expressway. That again is the remnant of the Dan Ryan branch extension. Trains would continue on this median all the way to 130th Street. However, the current plan would use that median for a little bit until Eggleston Avenue, where the line would turn via the Union Pacific right-of-way. Obviously, yes, the far south side, especially Roseland and Atgell Gardens, makes up some of the lowest incomes in all of Chicago. However, there are no good transit options here. Metra runs way too far from the proposed route, so unless you like walking 30 minutes to the nearest Metra station, you're stuck waiting for infrequent and overcrowded buses. Although these buses individually don't see high ridership, the 34 bus sees 4.7 thousand riders, the 103 bus sees 2,000 riders, the 106 bus sees 1,200 riders, the 111 bus sees 3,200 riders, the 112 bus sees 2,000 riders, the 115 bus sees 3,000 riders, and the 119 bus sees 4,000 riders. I can go on and on, but even with these bus routes, there are more than 15,000 riders in the far south side. And I didn't count suburban bus routes, which means that 15,000 figure is likely much higher. For these riders, 1 hour plus commutes into the loop, where their jobs are common. The Red Line can help cut this down by up to 20 minutes each way, which makes a huge difference. With rapid transit being the single most important factor in one's pursuit in escaping poverty, it is abundantly clear that the Dan Ryan branch needs to be extended down 130th Street. Now, I think the CTA made a good call when it came to the alignment. In previous plans, most plans would have it run on the median of either I-57 or I-94. That is bad for two reasons. The first one is obvious. Median expressway stations themselves. They are extremely loud, which can damage your hearing. Like, take a listen to this. A quick side note, I turned this down by 50%, and this is still very unpleasant to listen to. Also, instead of a quick entrance to the station, you're faced with walking half of the width of an expressway. That expressway takes up a huge chunk of the catchment area, which means there's less density. Transit works well with density, because you can walk directly to where you need to go. However, with less density, this means that you're encouraged to take a car to the station, which defeats the purpose of the eco-friendly train. But the second reason is much simpler. The I-57 and I-94 both have a metro line in its vicinity. The I-57 has the Rock Island District line, and the I-94 has the Metra electric service. So it will seem dumb to build another train line that parallels Metra closely. Yes, I supported the Green Line to Jackson Park, which will directly be on top of Metra. However, the Green Line does not end up in the same area as Metra in the loop, as it serves Fulton Market and the West Loop, both top destinations. The Red Line, on the other hand, parallels Metra in the loop. So yes, in this case, it seems like a waste of resources to build another train line here. But the CTA routed the Red Line with the Union Pacific right-of-way, which is in the heart of Roseland. This is a neighborhood that lacks that rapid transit line and needs it. Therefore, the CTA did something right here. The Dan Ryan branch needs to be built like now. but I'll take 2029. Given the CTA is actually taking this project very seriously, this might be the first project that gets completed in a Lines That Never Were series. The Dan Ryan branch extension has a long history. However, that history will end soon with the construction starting in 2025. With its completion in 2029, far south side riders will have faster access to the loop, which means they have a much better shot at escaping poverty. Therefore, it is imperative that the CTA moves as fast as possible. Anyways, this marks the end of this video. What are your thoughts on the Dan Ryan branch extension? Tell us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.